Now, growing up, one song that was popular back then has a chorus that goes like, I've got the power. Anyway, that's how the song goes. That song comes to mind whenever I consider the ongoing debate and discussion on the 2017 budget as passed by the National Assembly. Because it seems it all comes down to the powers given to the National Assembly and to the extent they can use these powers. Let's explore this in the next report.
The acting president signing the 2017 budget. This comes almost 6 months into the year, and everyone appears to be smiling. However, there are issues going on behind the scene as regards part of the budget passed. The issues become the subject of debate not long afterwards, as lawmakers considered 2 separate motions on the matter in plenary, one in the Senate and the other in the House of Representatives.
About 5 senators bombarded my office angrily, complaining about a statement allegedly credited to the acting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, to the effect that the National Assembly does not possess any power to alter the budget submitted to it by the executive. What was alleged to have been said does not represent the spirit of the framers of our Constitution.
For somebody to come out and say that this particular House has no right to modify or alter, or rather it has introduced some other projects, I think that has tantamount to at least suppressing our powers as legislators, as enshrined in the Constitution.
The presiding officers sought to calm the frayed nerves of their members.
I don't think we should bother ourselves belaboring this issue at all. We all know where these powers are, and under our watch, there's no way this House will be a rubber stamp of any executive measures.
I'm sure that the acting president must have been misquoted because there's clearly no ambiguity in the Constitution of the responsibility. This matter has been cleared and settled. But I believe as responsible statesmen and leaders too, the time that we consult and do our best to make the work for the executive and assist them. But as we bend backwards, I don't think that should be misconstrued or misrepresented, that we believe that the powers given to us in the Constitution, we do not agree or do not exist.
The matter was to come up again when the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is reported to have queried the alterations and additions unilaterally made by the legislature after putting members of the executive through budget defense sessions and committee hearings. This drew sharp replies from the spokesmen of both chambers of the National Assembly, in which they accused the minister of spreading half-truths. They say the alterations they made were in the interest of the country and well within their constitutional powers. What exactly is the extent of the powers of both arms of government? And does the National Assembly have the powers to introduce new projects into the budget? The lead director at the Center for Social Justice, Eze Onyekwere, and the executive director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Awal Ibrahim, bear their minds on these issues.
There are 2 schools of thought about the roles of the executive and the legislature in the budgeting process.
Okay.
One says that the executive is to initiate,
yes,
and that any new thing that the legislature introduces in the nature of initiation, which is ultra-vires their powers. A lot of legal practitioners and scholars are of that view of mind. Some other persons also want to look at it clearly, that if it is a bill, and since you can do a lot of things with a bill, that the legislature has unlimited powers to be able to tinker with a bill and come out, including in certain new projects. Okay. Now, for me, I adopt a middle-of-the-road approach because the Constitution, if you look at it properly, it didn't indicate such watertight separation. If you look at the nature of bills, including money bills, no bill comes out of the legislative mill exactly the same way that it came in.
Yes.
So there must be some alterations here and there to fine-tune it so that it will be very well nuanced and to serve the interests of the people. So if you ask me the extent of the powers of the legislature and the executive, I will say the executive is to prepare the budget and then bring it before the National Assembly for approval.
Now, where the problem, is coming is when some of the National Assembly members, they believe that they have the power to introduce entirely new projects, into the budget. And I'm saying that the fiscal responsibility law has actually resolved that complete, because the fiscal responsibility laws enable the National Assembly and other stakeholders to consult and meet with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that, whatever project they want, in their constituency, or they even want generally in the country, is actually captured before it is laid down to the National Assembly by the executive. You cannot, after the president has submitted a budget, you will now bring in entirely new, different, projects into the budget. As we have seen now, about almost 4,000 new projects has been, introduced. I think it is this, misunderstanding and lack of synergy between the executive and the legislature that is causing this problem.
What some of us looking at our constitution, because I've also looked at the constitution of Ghana, looked at that of South Africa, looked at that of Poland, looked at that of Korea, and even Switzerland. You see in a lot of these constitutions, the exact powers where the executive starts and stops and where the legislature starts and stops are defined. In some countries, they say that the legislature cannot bring in new projects except they go back to the executive. The legislature can't bring in new projects unless they go back to the executive. In some other countries, they also say that increase in the value of money in the revenue must be suggested or must come from the executive. And in some other places, they say the executive can increase ad nauseam on the condition that they're able to tell the executive where the money is coming from, if it's in terms of new taxes or new revenue. So you don't just put a new project without saying where the money to fund it is coming from.
For many people, these disagreements between the two arms slow down the pace of development in the country.
It has cost us a lot, and will still cost us a lot if we continue in this trajectory. Now look at it this way. The 2017 budget has been signed in June, very late. And the acting president has also promised that the legislature will get the 2018 appropriation bill by October. Now, what is expected of the executive is to proceed expeditiously, process the monies, release them, and start implementation. And what is expected is also that they should have by now almost gotten ready the medium-term expenditure framework, give it to National Assembly, let them look at it before they proceed on their mid-term vacation. And then when they come back, so both the executive and legislature left what they should be doing at this critical point in time and spilling a lot of bile into the system. So you could very well be sure that this will affect the 2018 process if there's already a lot of bickering. And the kind of words I'm getting to hear from particularly the executive, the way they describe the legislature, is not done in any presidential system.
They outlined their thoughts on the way this contention can be resolved once and for all.
We've been advocating for the National Assembly to have National Assembly Research, Budget and Research Office, NIBRO. I think it is at the power of the National Assembly to be able to have that, so that they can actually be able to have a kind of like a think tank, department that will be dealing with issues of budgeting process, because like I said, some of these issues require technical expertise, and not every member is able to match the expertise that is required to do this, because some of them are actually 2 years old in the assembly, and some of them maybe 6 years old, depending on when they are, in the assembly, and probably prior to that, they were never involved in the budgeting process. But if you have this office, this NIBRO office, it will technically, make you more sound and more competent to be able to deal with whatever the executive is sending. You can interrogate whatever they are bringing. But as it is now, inability to allow that office to function continue to create gaps in terms of the knowledge and the capacity and the competence of the National Assembly to deal with a budgeting process as probably the executive will do.
They should talk more, take each other into confidence, because the way they do it in the legislature, they say, well, you have this legislature has 30 or 40 million naira worth of projects. So at what point should it be put in the budget? It should be at the time they are working in the MDAs. So they shouldn't tell them, wait, we are preparing. You know what happens? You tell them to wait, we are preparing. You don't take part in preparation initiation. They say, okay, no problem. When you finish, You will meet us there, and then we now put it. So you don't want us to put it at the appropriate time and hour.